Hello, my name is Alexander Yakubchuk. I'm going to do a presentation about Russian gold mining during last 30 years, essentially since the breakup of the Soviet Union. During this period of time, Russia produced approximately 6,000 tons of gold, slightly more than that, which is about 11-12% of the global production. You can see on this chart how global production changed. It changed approximately 50% since 1991, and it is in good correlation with changes in gold prices. However, I would like to say that year 2020 is very special for everyone on this planet, and this is a year of COVID. There was a decrease of production in 2020 despite of growth in gold prices. And we shall see during next several years whether this downturn is a temporary event or more stable event. I would like to say in the very beginning that Russian gold production in comparison with global gold production increased approximately 2.2 times, and which is greater growth than the global average. Everybody knows that after liberation of gold prices in the late 60s to early 70s, there was an escalation of gold prices by 1980. That was a period of Soviet invasion into Afghanistan and the threats which this created to the world oil production, of which more than 50% was from the Persian Gulf at that point of time. We can see that during last 30 years and before that, basically there is a good correlation between changes in oil prices and gold prices. Essentially, these commodities reflect very well what's happening globally, political events, political tensions, and everybody knows that after the peak of 1980s, there was a decrease in gold prices, which reached its bottom in the year 2000. But after the invasion of Iraq by the United States, basically it created the same effect as it was in the late 70s, early 80s during Soviet entry into Afghanistan. Of course, year 2020, there was some discrepancy between oil price and gold price, but now we are half in year 2021. We know that oil prices went up, and basically it's obvious that oil and gold will match again. Some people say that we are now in the beginning of the super cycle again. How these prices change and how they will affect the global production, we shall see obviously during the next 5 to 10 years. This is how Russian gold production changed from 1991 to 2020 against the gold prices. Also, in terms of total production, there is a breakdown into production from placers, from hard rock, from byproduct gold, and gold in concentrates, which became internationally tradable phenomenon for Russia during last 10 years. There is significant increases, you can see, in production of gold in concentrate. Production of byproduct gold remains more or less stable, with some obvious increase after increase in gold prices. Most of this gold comes from Norilsk as a byproduct of from copper production in the Urals. Most interestingly, it is to see how gold production changed in terms of placer to hard rock gold ratio. Essentially, in 1991, the share of hard rock gold production in Russia was very, very small. It was slightly more than 20 tons of gold per year. And the leader in this production was Kuranakh, which is in the southern Yakutia. And this is not typical hard rock deposit. It is a near surface deposit with a strong oxidation of its mineralization, and it's not typical hard rock mining. Essentially, Kuranakh was producing more than 50% of Russian hard rock gold back in 1991. 75% of Russian gold production at that period of time was from the placers, numerous placers, some large, some small, some supergiant. And you can see that through this period of time, the amount of gold extracted from the placers decreased. However, the absolute amount remains substantial. It's in year 2020, it is approximately 75 tons, but its share changed from 75% to 25% during these 30 years. And in terms of hard rock gold production, there was a significant increase, 8.3 times in comparison with 1991. So the Russian gold industry changed its face completely. I'm going to show several slides with position of gold deposits with a geographic position. Basically, all slides geographically match each other. And if I go quickly from 91 to year 2020, you would see how the overall situation changed through time. I will return then to the beginning to make some comments about how it was happening, what was happening, and what period of time. So if you compare 91 and year 2020, you would see that essentially from no hard rock gold production to substantial hard rock gold production in 2020, that's a significant change. And probably no one other country, maybe with the exception of some countries in West Africa, went through such transition during the last 30 years. So I return back to 91, and if to apply a template that world-class gold production would be more than 200,000 ounces, I simplified it down to 6 tons of gold per annum. And this operation should be sustainable for at least 20 years. This is what is the meaning of world-class production in this presentation. Of course, not every mine, not every mine in Russia which was able to achieve this production was able to maintain it for a long period of time. But in total, there were 19 mines which reached this level of production, at least during 2 consecutive years, and you will see what happened and where. So if we are in 91, we see only one world-class production in terms of annual yield of gold in 91, and it is Kuranakh. And in year 92, basically situation didn't change. You see that there are numerous producers which are producing between 1 and 3 tons of gold per annum. In Siberia, in Krasnoyarsk, even at this period of time, there was gold production from Olympiada. There was also gold production from Natalka in Magadan area. And you will see that how it changed. These operations were structured. These deposits had a resource of more than 1,000 tons of gold. Some of it was realized during additional exploration, but de facto they have more than 1,000 tons of gold. Despite of this, their production, annual production in the early 1990s was very small. So this situation continued into 1993, 94, and 95. So these are 4 years after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Kuranakh still remains the largest gold producer. It is a significant deposit which is in top 10 of Russian gold deposits in terms of gold endowment. This situation changed in 96. We see that this is when Olympiada started producing more than 15 tons of gold per annum. The reason for this, the operation was completely rebuilt. Why it was possible? It was possible because of very rich oxide zone, grading more than 10 grams per ton, and more than 200 tons of gold was eventually extracted from the oxide zone at Olympiada. Essentially, this is what is a company maker for Polus. And there was a second change, which is very important for Russian gold industry. It is the beginning of production at Kubaka. You can see this yellow spot in the Russian Far East. This was achieved by Cyprus Amex, who built the new mine at Kubaka deposit, which was in small scale production before that. And they showed how it is possible to maximize the outcome from such deposits. So these two deposits remained the leaders of Russian gold production for several years. You can see that Kuranakh decreased, the other deposits were at small level of production, and this is a period of decrease in gold prices. And gold prices reached their bottom in 98, 99, as they went down below $300 per ounce level. You can see though that with the decrease of gold prices, both mines at Olympiada and Kubaka increased gold production, exceeding 12 tons of gold per annum. So we see that despite of this, these two deposits just helped the entire gold mining industry in Russia to live through these difficult times of low prices. And you can see that the share between placer and hardrock gold production is not equal yet, but the share of placers decreased significantly. This was the same in the year 99 and 2000, and nobody believes that gold will ever go up above $300 per ounce level. But in the year 2002, there was an entry of the United States into the Persian Gulf. And as a result, gold prices started going up, oil prices started going up, and in 2001, 2002, several Russian mines were put into production or they were upgraded to become more compatible with international practices. And as a result, we see that in this period of time, the share of hard rock gold mining in Russia became more than 50% in comparison with the previous years. And during the next 18 years, the share of placers was steadily decreasing. They're still substantial, but it was substantially decreasing year to year. The growth in gold prices allowed to put into production several mines which were world-class or sub-world-class. And you can see that the main area where such activity was possible was Russian Far East. This area has relatively high-grade deposits. The grade in them is more than 5 grams, more than 7 grams per ton, and Siberia remains relatively quiet during this period of time, although it can, except Olympiada, although it contains several large deposits which will come in production during next 15 years, as you will see in the slides. So year 2004, year 2005, 2006, and 2008, we see that there is a change in Siberia, in Transbaikalia, essentially, where several deposits which are lower grades than in the Russian Far East went into production. Olympiada remains the leader, but those become significant players. One more change is that Kubaka during this period of time basically was for sale. It later became a hub for polymetals operation in Magadan area. But there was an entry of new player in Chukotka, and this is a Kupol deposit. Kupol epithermal deposit is one of the most significant discoveries of the first decade of 21, not only for Russia, but also internationally. And this is what was a company maker for Bima Gold, which eventually sold it to Kinross. Kinross perhaps is the only pure foreign company operating in Russia successfully, and I will show on later slides how they achieve this success. So from 2009 to 2010, basically situation didn't change much, but you will see more and more significant producers building up their mines in the southern part of the Far East, which is infrastructurally easier than its northern part, where it is possible to bring into production lower grade deposits than in the northern part. And going on, we see that this is possible obviously because of sharp increase in gold prices. And even despite the downturn in such prices in 2013, which continued for several years, essentially more and more mines were brought into production. And by year 2015, 2016, we see that more and more world-class producers were built in Russia. Another significant change is year 2017. You see this yellow star in Olympiada. This is the first year when Olympiada produced more than 1 million ounces of gold. And this is the first Russian mine which produced more than 1 million ounces of gold. In the Soviet Union, the most significant hard rock production was coming from Muruntau in Uzbekistan, which is producing approximately 2 million ounces per annum steadily since the late 60s, early 70s, for more than 50 years now. And but Russia itself, there was no true world-class production from a single deposit until Olympiada reached its 1 million ounces. Obviously, future may become different, and Polis is busy doing feasibility study for Sukhoilok deposit north of Lake Baikal. If it goes into production, it may produce 2 million ounces per annum, and this will become the second plus 1 million ounce producer in Russian Federation from a single mine. Moving on, 2018, 2019, 2020, the situation didn't change much. Basically, last 4 years, we see more and more new mines brought into production in the Far East, and how it was possible to achieve so. Basically, same slides, but shown not geographically, but on top of each other. You see that there were only 19 deposits which reached the threshold of 6 tons of gold per annum. The steadiest and most substantial production was from Olympiada, obviously, but there were several others, and some are owned by Polus, some are owned by Polymetal, and at the moment there is more than 5 companies in the Russian Federation which have the mines with world-class gold production. Same presentation is here, but it shows this cloud in the bottom of medium to small scale producers, and you can see how the individual deposits behaved. The red line on top shows how Olympiada was going through its different production levels with ups and downs, obviously, during the last 30 years. But also you can see Kubaka on the left-hand side and Kupal on the right-hand side. They were typical epithermal deposits. They are owned by foreign companies, Kinross in this particular case, and they maximize their returns during the first 2 years of operation. Russia, of course, is considered to be a risky jurisdiction, although it always fulfilled its obligations. But the banks provide the money on higher terms than to the other jurisdictions. In this case, foreign operators, they have to maximize the return as quickly as possible, and the examples of both Kubaka and Kupal show it very well. Of course, in the future, this will change. Next 5 to 10 years will be interesting to see what's happening, especially with Sukhoy Log, which was technically in production small scale in the middle 2000. And we shall see whether we see another substantial producer in the Russian Federation. What is the resource base for the deposits which were in production? It doesn't show deposits with some resource which never had production, only those which had production. It's approximately 200 of them on this image during the period of time between 91 and 2000. One can see that there are only 4 deposits which have more than 1,000 ton gold endowment. Among them, Olympiada, as I mentioned, Sukhoy Log, as I mentioned, and Natalka, as I mentioned. There is Nizhdaninskaya, and it is important to see whether it will be possible to overcome the technical problems which are related to this deposit, whether it becomes a significant producer or not. There are several deposits which fall in between 300 tons of gold endowment and 1,000 tons of gold endowment. Kuranach is one of them, as you can see. But there are a couple of others, which is Kachkarskaya and Berezovskaya, which are in the Urals. They are in operation for more than 200 years, and during all this period of time, they basically remain, they do production more or less at the same level. I beg your pardon, to be more precise, as hard rock mines, they operate for approximately 160 years. And of course, there are numerous smaller deposits which help to produce gold. Obviously, you can see that the grade in such deposits is variable. Some are extremely high grade, plus 10 gram, plus 20 gram, but many are within the 1 to 10 gram brackets. And there are some, like Kuranach, that despite its low grade gold, it is possible to produce gold from such deposits because they're very shallow position relative to the surface. So what's happening internationally if to compare Russian gold production and global gold production? Everybody knows that South Africa was a leader in global gold production for a long, long time, but this is the past. And perhaps the most dramatic decrease is after the middle 90s. You can see that South African gold production is steadily decreasing. It is probably not possible to overturn it back. Everybody knows that South Africa produced more than 2/3 of gold extracted during human history. After mid-2000, China became the world leader, but we see that during the last 3-4 years, its gold production is decreasing. The other important countries, Russia, United States, and Australia. Australia was a long-term number 2, number 3, but probably this year the situation changed, and with especially gold coming from concentrates in Russia. Russia probably in this year 2020 produced slightly more gold than Australia. If Sukhoi goes into production with its extra 2 million ounces, obviously there is a chance for Russia to challenge China, and we shall see during the next 5 to 10 years whether it happens or not. Overall, I think the performance of the country was spectacular, and we see that what was possible to do in Russia is essentially building from scratch its new industry of mining gold from hard rock deposits. Thank you very much.